Today, we are diving into one of the most incredible comeback stories in modern medicine. You know, after decades of being outlawed and, let's be honest, pretty demonized, psychedelic molecules are making a huge return. They're re-emerging as potentially powerful tools for treating some of our most stubborn mental health conditions. So how on earth do these controversial compounds go from being cultural outcasts to medical frontrunners? Let's get into it.
For a long time, the well for new psychiatric drugs has been running pretty dry, and that's left a lot of patients without any good options. Well, this has basically forced scientists to look backward, to dig up a class of compounds that were once totally off limits. This quote right here really nails it. It's a crisis, a real need for new answers that's pushing researchers to reopen a door that was slammed shut a long time ago.
And that really brings us to the biggest question of all, doesn't it? We're talking about substances that have been used in healing rituals for, thousands of years. Is it possible that these ancient medicines, these entheogens, actually hold the key to treating very modern problems like depression, addiction, and PTSD?
Now, before we get to all the cutting-edge science, it's so important to understand that the story of these molecules did not start in a lab. Nope. Their history is deep, it's rich, and it's totally tangled up with human culture itself.
For literally millennia, shamans and healers were using these things as sacred tools. Then, in 1938, science enters the picture. A chemist named Albert Hoffman synthesizes LSD for the very first time. Fast forward to the 1960s, and these substances just explode into Western culture. They become the symbol of the counterculture, inspiring artists and thinkers to challenge everything. Research was just starting to get really interesting, but then the brakes were slammed on, hard.
Yeah, just as scientists were really beginning to unlock what these molecules could do, the door was just slammed shut. The whole cultural and political backlash of the 60s led to a sudden, dramatic halt in any kind of legitimate scientific research, and it lasted for decades.
Okay, just look at this chart. It tells the story so perfectly. This is data from PubMed, which is the database for scientific studies. See that first bar? That's the 1960s, a big surge in research. But then, a moral panic sets in. Governments got spooked by the counterculture and hit back with strict bans, labeling these things as dangerous drugs with zero medical value. And you can see the result. For almost 40 years, the research just flatlines. It became a scientific dead zone. But then, look all the way to the right. That huge spike? That's not just a comeback. It's a full-on renaissance. And it's happening right now.
So, which molecules are at the head of the pack in this new era? There are a bunch, but today we're going to focus on two of the biggest players in the research world right now, psilocybin and ibogaine.
First up is psilocybin. This is probably the one you've heard of. It's the active ingredient in what people call magic mushrooms. But way before it was ever studied in a lab, it was a revered part of sacred ceremonies in Mesoamerica, used for healing and for gaining spiritual insight.
So how does it actually work in your brain? Well, it's actually a pretty neat process. When you take psilocybin, your body turns it into its active form, which is called psilocin. Psilocin then goes and targets a specific serotonin receptor in the brain, the 5-HT2A receptor. And here's the magic part. Doing this seems to boost the brain's plasticity. It allows those rigid negative thought patterns, the kind you see in depression, to get shaken up and essentially reset. It's like a reset button for your brain's circuits.
And this unique mechanism is showing some seriously incredible promise. As you can see here, researchers are looking at it for all sorts of things, from major depression and the kind that doesn't respond to other treatments, to anxiety and even substance abuse. The results have been so good that the FDA in the US has actually given it a breakthrough therapy designation for depression, which basically puts it on the fast track. All right, let's switch gears to our next molecule, which is a very different beast, ibogaine. This is a super powerful compound that comes from the root of a shrub found in equatorial Africa. And traditionally, it wasn't just used for spiritual ceremonies. It was also used as a stimulant by hunters to stay sharp and awake.
Okay, so this is what makes ibogaine really special. Its action in the brain is incredibly complex. If psilocybin is like a key for one specific lock, think of ibogaine as more of a master key for the whole building. It doesn't just hit one kind of receptor, it interacts with multiple systems at once, including the very opioid receptors that drive addiction and the serotonin transporters that handle our mood. This complex, multi-target approach is what seems to give it such a powerful anti-addiction punch.
And the results from early studies are, well, they're kind of mind-blowing. Ibogaine has shown this incredible ability to treat addiction, especially opioid addiction.
But get this, and this part is truly stunning. A single administration can drastically cut down or even get rid of withdrawal symptoms and cravings. And some reports say those effects can last for up to a year. This is a total game changer. We're not talking about daily pills anymore. We're talking about one treatment that could potentially reset the brain's addiction pathways for months.
But of course, with all of this incredible potential, there are some pretty big challenges. The road from here is all about carefully balancing that huge promise with some very real-world pragmatism.
So on one side, you have the promise of fast-acting, powerful, and long-lasting treatments for conditions that have stumped doctors for decades. But on the other side, well, these aren't drugs you can just pick up from the pharmacy. They have to be given under the care of highly trained psychotherapists. There are side effects, and with ibogaine specifically, there's a known risk to the heart that needs serious medical screening. Figuring out safe, effective, standardized ways to do all this, that is the major hurdle researchers are focused on right now.
So it all leaves us with this one big question. As science rediscovers these incredibly powerful tools, are we, as a society, ready to unlock the bright side of psychedelics? All of the evidence is pointing to a very, very bright side. The challenge now isn't just in the lab. It's in our clinics, it's in our laws, and it's in our culture. Are we really ready to bring these powerful medicines back into the fold, responsibly? That's a conversation that is really just getting started.